Hello and welcome to today's Learn at Lunchtime program from the State Museum of Pennsylvania. I am Beth Erickson. Today we are joined by Director Mark Hand and Deputy Director Matt Reis from the GreenGov Program. Hello and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Beth. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell us what the GreenGov Program in Pennsylvania is and what you'll be sharing with us today.
Sure. GreenGov's an initiative of state government that strives to make the government operations more environmentally sustainable. And so what we do is the expectation is we take the best practices of this program and pass it on to others, such as local governments. And today we'd like to share the highlights of the program and the processes that we've established so far.
That sounds fantastic. So let's get started so we can find out more. If anyone has a question during the program, please type it into the Q&A and we'll get to as many as we can after the presentation is complete. So Matt and Mark, when you are ready, you can begin.
All right, and thanks so much.
So I'll get started. This is Mark Hand. Again, we've gone through the introductions. You can go to the next slide. And I just wanted to, the GreenGov Council is co-chaired, and how we're set up, we're co-chaired by 3 agencies of DCNR, DEP, and DGS. And they form our council and give us guidance and direction on where to go with our program. So next slide. And we're not alone. There are about 24 other states that have a similar type of GreenGov program. And essentially, there's 24 states that have joined the U.S. Climate Alliance, and our overarching goal of the GreenGov program is a climate goal, and that's the 80% reduction in carbon emissions by 2050. And so we all agree to track and reduce our carbon emissions, and the GreenGov program is focused primarily on state government operations. Next slide. So what do we do? So our mission is to encourage the incorporation of environmentally sustainable practices into the Commonwealth's policy planning, operations, procurement, and regulatory functions. It's quite a mouthful, but essentially each agency or the agencies of the Commonwealth have these other goals underneath this: to reduce energy consumption 3% per year, to replace the state passenger fleet to battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids by 2025, and to procure renewable electricity to offset our emissions and carbon reduction goals in that area, and also build new buildings and major renovations to high performance standards. Next slide. So where are we with our goals? In 2022, at the end of the year, we compared 2021 to 2022, and we actually had a slight increase in energy consumption that you can see in the bottom right, for basically 0.4% over the previous year. But the big takeaway is that we've been tracking all agencies' consumption for the last several years, and even though we had a slight increase, we're still down about 12% since we started tracking a few years ago. So since 2019, we've basically recorded a 12% reduction in energy consumption overall. So that's really good news. Next slide. And where we are with the electric vehicle goal is that at the bottom left, you can see that we've reached about 27% of our goal. So 25% of our passenger fleet equates to about 971 units of electric vehicles that we're working towards. So we have about 263 units in the fleet and making progress in that area. And one of the issues that we face is that we need to have charging stations built to support this fleet. And so that's a big deal. It actually takes quite a bit to deliver. The vehicles are relatively easy and the charging stations are a little bit more complex, putting them all over the Commonwealth. So we also are tracking our charging stations, and we have 118 charging stations in and another 351 that are in construction phase. So next slide. And hopefully some of you have heard on the call that we have we've done a large renewable energy power purchase agreement, which is starting in 2023, and in 2024, we have we'll be procuring 191 megawatts of power, which span about 434 accounts across 16 agencies. And it's about 50% of our electricity consumption will be using renewable energy, in-state renewable energy, starting in the next couple of years. And we have the contract extends for 15 years. So this is also really great news. Next slide. And since we started tracking and working in 2019, we have about 40 high performance building projects across agencies that are taking shape, meeting some green building standards and performance criteria that were set out to do. And Matt and I see this as a continuous improvement opportunity. So we're also working to set up steps and processes to work to exceed these goals. And even there's more room for improvement to build higher performance construction facilities. Next slide. So we have a few communications tools that we work to get out for various reasons. We have an annual report. We have 3 annual reports on our website. And essentially what this is doing is tracking our performance goals and providing a level of transparency to stakeholders and the public about how this program is going. And so please do take a look and view those resources. We also have a newsletter that's available that we send out quarterly to just feature how agencies are doing and what sort of best management practice steps are taking place in the Commonwealth over the course of the year. Next slide. And one of the big items that's happening in 2023 is we're working to start this is a bit of a mouthful, but it's the PA Climate Change Mitigation and Resilience Network. We call it the PA Climate Network. And essentially we understand that in order for us to meet our climate goals going forward, we really need an educated workforce and leaders working together, peer-to-peer networking, and different participation coming from lots of different levels for us to really dig into the climate action and make a difference. So we're looking forward to setting up a network of leaders and building out the network this year across the entire state. Next slide. And each year, the past 2 years anyway, we had a sustainability week. And last year we had a sustainability summit on October 3 through 7, and we had various expert speakers and lots of participation. It was a really big event for us. We had 1,500 participants throughout the week and just lots of engaging conversations. The Sustainability Summit can still be viewed on our website, so please do take a look at that as well. Next slide. And another important item that we have is we have a webinar series, somewhat like this one. It's with Penn State Sustainability Institute, and we pulled together subject matter experts on various items of sustainability, not just environmental sustainability, but sustainability across all aspects of sustainability in monthly webinars. So we're in our 4th webinar series. We find that folks really like this. It's engaging. It's actually very much like this format where we have question and answer, give folks time to ask questions of the expert speakers that we pull together, and we also learn as well from all of them. And next slide. And one of the other things that we started last year, we started working with the Appalachian Audubon Society and Harrisburg for this Lights Out Harrisburg campaign. It's a national program with many participating cities, and what it actually is doing is just for reference is that migratory bird season starts on April 1st and goes through May 31st, and then again in the fall, August 15th through November 15th. And during this time, over the it's well documented that migratory birds are in decline because their habitats are either habitat destruction or climate change issues or any number of items that are affecting them. And so the lights out, what happens is the lights are distracting the birds, and there's bird collisions on their routes to their nest areas or wherever, their home. So essentially we work to turn out the lights during this period, especially the dome lights and some of the other lights that we can around the Capitol to protect the birds. So next slide.
All right, and thanks, Mark, for that. And this is Matt, and I take over now with the GreenGov checklist. So the GreenGov checklist consists it's conducted on an annual basis. We have at the end of this reporting period, which will be for this fiscal year, which will end at the end of June, will mark 5 years of agency participation in the GreenGov checklist program. So what the checklist does is benchmark and agencies' efforts towards sustainability initiatives and energy savings within their operations. And as you can see here, this 5th year is due on August the 25th of this year, and all past 4 years of checklists for each agency are available on the GreenGov webpage, and we invite you to take a look at that, as well as past annual reports and other items as well. For the past 4 years, we've had 100% participation, and I know it's really hard to see in this slide, but it's just basically to show that the span of scores is all over the map, and agencies aren't competing necessarily against each other, but really against their performance in the year prior. Many of the measures within the slides that we know folks aren't flat out aren't doing, and with that, the checklist is very suggestive in many ways to help to drive further sustainability within our operations and energy savings. Next up here is a little breakdown of the checklist performance over the past 4 years by categories. You can see here that some categories have had a bit of an uptick, some a little bit on the downside. Especially as we've gone through, we started the program just prior to the COVID years, and then through the COVID years, you can see we had like a little bit of a downturn, but picking back up in areas. But I think the biggest takeaway from this is that in the last column here, the resilience is that every year, overall, the Commonwealth has picked up operations, so continuity of operations, et cetera, especially during the COVID times, which I think is really telling of agencies stepping up to meet that challenge or that need, and is really a fantastic thing to see. Next up here is the GreenGov program area focus groups. So in order to help to share information, peer-to-peer conversations, we've lifted up these 6 focus groups that for specific program areas, so that agencies have the chance to collaborate on best practices and certain initiatives within their operations, all with an eye towards lifting up performance on our checklist as we go forward. So they consist of sustainability teams, utility management, EV and EV charging, green facility management, construction and leasing specifications, and products and materials. And now I'm just going to go through a couple of slides, a slide for each one of these, to kind of show what the groups are working on in those areas. So you can see here the sustainability teams, and as Mark had said, we have a Commonwealth Sustainability Week. We partner with Penn State Sustainability Institute with a webinar series, and this team really will help to work to identify those top conservation measures, develop and deliver sustainable education within each agency and throughout their ranks of employees and within our operations, and then certainly to share different strategies and best practices of what is successful to lift up and help each other out. Next is the utility management. So, as Mark had shown, one of our goals is to lower energy spend, or the energy use 3% annually. And in order to do that, you can't measure, you can't manage what you don't measure. And with that, we've started this energy benchmarking initiative. We use Energy Cap software. They're based out of State College, PA, so a Pennsylvania-based firm. And we've been in the game with the energy benchmarking via capturing of our utility bills since about 2017. Right now, we have about 90% or greater of all our utilities, so mostly the electricity, natural gas, and steam within the system, so that we're able to get a good apples to apples comparison of where we were and where we went to go with the portfolio. And certainly other advantages are to identify anomalies with with certain buildings of light construction, and driving our investments going forward to push down the energy consumption. Next up is the EV and EV charging, and I'm sure folks see all the commercials on, even including in the Super Bowl, and EVs are coming, and with that, the Commonwealth is no separate from anybody else, and what we're working to do is to build out our infrastructure to support them as they come. So pool vehicle use, like the owned fleet and pool vehicle use, is about our greatest model to be electrified, and currently this group works to identify the best locations for the rollout and construction of EV charging units to support our fleet. Next is a green facility management. What this does is there's a big tie-in with green facility management and the energy benchmarking, and what it is to really identify projects, or link a direct link from the historic energy use of our facilities, and the tie-in from that to our capital investments plan going forward to really drive down the energy consumption within our fleets. And with that is a utilization, and we're just on the cusp of it and working it in, is international standards like this 50,001 ready through the U.S. Department of Energy, so that we can help to really steer the portfolio into a much greater energy planning role, and linking that directly to our capital investments. Next up is a high performance and leasing. The Commonwealth has about a 55% lease portfolio, and the other 45% owned space. And what we want to do is, really, the purpose of this group is to lift up those high performance facility initiatives, not only in the owned portfolio, but also in the lease portfolio, providing transparency through the benchmarking and auditing, and also having that lead the energy investments as we go forward. Next, we have a focus group of products and materials. What products and materials focuses on mainly is opportunities to really lift up the purchase of environmentally preferred products within the Commonwealth, the education associated with that, recycling initiatives, much better and more robust recycling initiatives with that, and exploring different options as we go forward, such as a material recovery facility, utilizing these recycled plastics in roadways is just two examples. Another big piece of this of this focus group is the development and rollout of these recycling kiosks within the Commonwealth-owned facilities. So I think we have about 4 or 5 of them in the Capitol complex right now, in various buildings in use. And we have plans for about another 15 to 20 more to be rolled out in other facilities within the next year or so. So it's been a really nice, people like it. It's their chance to really see the recycling in action and have an opportunity to literally pitch in, and then also creates single stream recycling, so that we can have better markets for the materials that are finally recycled. And with that, I think that's all we have for the presentation, and I guess we'll get to the question and answer now.
That was great. Thank you so much. So we do have quite a few questions that we want to run through here. Not run through, we want to discuss. And I have a couple of my own. Why should this program matter to the average citizen in the Commonwealth?
Well, I mean, this is your government and, you should be like us. We see it as, we're trying to be the best stewards of taxpayer dollars and we have a responsibility for our climate actions. And so the reason why we're concerned is, and we want to make it transparent for our folks out there, is to see how government's responding and the ways that we're working to improve. I don't know if Matt, if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, I'll just add, yeah, exactly, Mark. And really it's the it's the saving of energy and being the stewards of those taxpayer dollars, as Mark had mentioned, and the saving of energy is directly related to the savings of dollars too. So providing that transparency within our operations for the taxpayers.
That's a great answer. So there's a lot of citizen science movements today. Are there any citizen science opportunities within the Commonwealth for people to contribute to sustainability? And also, can people attend the sustainability conference?
Well, I'll jump in with this one. The groups that we have, like the focus groups, are internal only to the Commonwealth. But the Sustainability Week that we have last year was our first annual Sustainability Summit, where we opened it up to folks to participate outside of the Commonwealth. So we don't have plans solidified for what's going to happen this year per se, but certainly if we do have another Sustainability Summit, that it would be open to participation outside of the Commonwealth employees. And then also, going forward, and the tools that we've developed through the GreenGov Council are all available on our website. And one of them is a workbook that helps any entity develop a sustainability team within their operations. And then several other examples of and tools on the website.
I would just add too that although we don't have a meeting set up at this point, we typically have external stakeholder meetings to get involved with our process. So we have an open process to take feedback and and look for folks that we can partner with as well that can bring something to help this process along. So, but as those get scheduled, you can kind of go to our website and take a look or just, chat with us.
Yeah, I think the website is a very useful tool. It's very well set up. It's easy to use. Questions specifically regarding the electric vehicle use. So the charging stations you mentioned, who maintains those? And is there a way to request those stations to be placed near certain Commonwealth buildings or locations throughout the state?
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, there certainly is a way to request them. And again, I think it's worth noting here that the charging stations that the Commonwealth is investing in right now are specifically for the use of Commonwealth-owned vehicles. So the Commonwealth pool vehicles and its own traveling fleet. So not for public use, not for employee use. Most of them are installed within our parking garages. There is a request form available for agencies, and it's for an internal one. It goes through the Department of General Services for evaluation of a facility, if it can, and how much charging that it can support. But like I said, that those initiatives are for our own traveling fleet, not for that use of the public or employees.
That does make sense. So what are some other things that state employees can do to contribute to sustainability at their workplace as individuals?
That's a great question. In our sustainability, our checklist, we have a number of cultural items that, essentially what one of the best things to do is to get involved. And there's not enough messages going and education around sustainability in general, and just general engagement with employees. So I think we need to figure that one out. I mean, as we go to different places, we learn that there isn't a lot of messages making it into the ranks of employees and ways that they can improve. So I think that's one area that we need to bolster and work together to get that message out.
So a couple more questions about agencies and their accountability. There was a question regarding landowning agencies that have to allow certain activities such as mining or extraction of oil and natural gas. Are these agencies penalized for those activities based on the sustainability scores? How does that work?
No, they, you're talking about the GreenGov checklist and
Yes. How are they
yeah.
held accountable by that?
So those agencies are not penalized by their mission and items that are required by them by law or just as a rule. The checklist, if it doesn't, essentially the checklist, if it doesn't apply to them, they basically are not, they basically are answering questions based on items that apply to them. So if it doesn't apply to their business, or if it's, if basically if it's part of their law or their mission, there's no penalty associated with it. Maybe Matt, I don't know if you have any thoughts on
Yeah,
how to
I mean,
expand
yeah,
on that.
the checklist is based more towards the internal operations of an agency, and really focusing on principles such as the lean principles, et cetera. And so if an entity such as DEP that provides permitting for different types of various types of action, they are as they are legally obligated to provide those permits. So that's not something that is really even a part of the checklist or their sustainability plan.
Which makes sense. I think there's a lot of different viewpoints and messages that go out, and just making sure, like, the point is to create long-term sustainability, not just stop something because you don't like it at the time, but just to look at the long-term feasibility of something and how it will impact the environment and society. So a couple more questions about recycling. Why are certain areas more restricted? And maybe this is beyond your purview. Why are some areas more restricted by rules when it comes to what's recycling and what's trash? How do we know throughout the Commonwealth what we should be repurposing, reusing, and what actually should go to trash?
This is a bit beyond our scope for sure. It's more of a DEP waste management program issue, but I would just say that, like, I live in a rural area and we have the blue bins, and I think, I guess I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that my municipality is not required to have a level of recycling as a larger municipality, and so a lot of it's municipal driven. So I guess in my area, we could potentially be recycling more, but they're only required to offer the blue bins, and essentially that's the limitation of the recycling in this area. So I think they, probably in the city of Harrisburg, there's more options and other places as well. So I think it's locally driven, I think, and also by a number of DEP rules that they are abiding by.
Well, let me pull this back to GreenGov then. So within the Commonwealth with employees, what's the best way to kind of get the word out there about office recycling? Somebody was asking, like, they're looking for ways to coerce their office mates to do better about in-office recycling. What do you suggest?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because as we had shown the recycling kiosk, really that's a limited amount of recyclable materials that an employee generates in an office space environment, right? So what the kiosk should be able to serve any type of materials that, somebody would bring in for their lunch or otherwise, or, through the use of, with their day within an office environment. So the kiosk is the perfect tool to meet that need. And like I said, we have, I believe it's 4, maybe 5 of them rolled out into facilities right now in the Capitol complex, and many more are in various stages of construction to be rolled out within other buildings. And the plan is to go in concentric circles from Harrisburg outwards within Commonwealth owned and maybe some leased facilities. So with those, it's has the kiosk creates that opportunity to make that single source recycling happen. So with materials such as plastics, aluminum cans, paper, etc.
How are the sustainability suggestions or policies balanced with the cost of making improvements? There's a lot of older buildings within the Commonwealth. Or the question also included the negative effects that might occur during a transition, putting up wind turbines and such. So how is that balanced for the long-term effects of sustainability?
I'm not sure I quite understand the question.
So like, is to make improvements that are sustainable may have a large cost to it, whether it's financial or negative effects on the environment during the transition. So how is that decision-making balanced about what we should be doing?
Well, I can tell you right now that we have a project, a solicitation, a power purchase agreement called the PA Pulse, which will account for, it's in construction, various stages of construction right now, sited within 6 counties in Pennsylvania. Land array of solar will supply for nearly 50% of all the Commonwealth owned electric meters. And it's a 15-year contract. And with that being said, once that once those come online and start powering our facilities, there's no carbon emissions associated with it. So I don't know about any downsides to it, to be quite honest. And as far as land use, they are sequestering, so to speak, the land, keeping it from being developed. If the farmer or the lessor wants to later change that use of that space, they can literally take a few weeks and pull those panels out and back to farming or as they see fit with their land. So I think in many ways with the renewable energy is just that it's clean, it's renewable, it's always functioning, and it's zero emissions. There may be an issue with 35 years from now when those panels come time to be recycled, but right now there's huge initiatives underway all over to recycle those materials, and they're actually pretty simple. It's a basically a glass or polycarbonate sheet. It has the film on the bottom side of it. It's actually a couple of microns thick, and then most of them have an aluminum frame. So as the manufacturer, the pieces of it, the components, they're 100% recyclable.
Terrific answer, thank you. A question just to clarify. So these initiatives are statewide, correct? It's not just the Harrisburg area, but it also includes Pittsburgh, Scranton, Philadelphia, throughout the state?
That's
Yes.
correct. It's all state agencies,
Okay.
regardless of where they're located in the Commonwealth.
Terrific. Are there any plans to push a recycling kiosk in the farm show complex?
Yes.
Okay. That's one that gets used by a lot of.
And it may look different from the ones like the one that we showed in the slideshow is it's specifically for office space environment. So as we get to different applications, I don't know, like the office space areas, like actually Mark and I just gave a presentation to folks, and we were in, one of the upstairs rooms of the farm show complex just this past Wednesday, which is like an office space environment. So that would be, and really not a public space. So, but that would be a good candidate to receive the race recycling kiosk. But the overall event center, likely will get one that looks a little bit different, or maybe even more robust commercial bins. And actually, they already do have a good bit of recycling bins.
The two of you have handled a lot of questions here today, coming from a lot of different directions. So thank you. I want to end on a note regarding the dark sky initiative. So you mentioned that was done at the Capitol. Is that done on a regular basis?
Yeah, so the Lights Out program is twice a year, and it's sort of it's like education and raising awareness piece for to get more folks to turn their lights out. As far as I see the Dark Skies initiative, I think that's a separate. Yes, we would love to get there. I think some of the Lights Out pieces will inform I mean, I can see that as we get more folks that are aware of the issue with the migratory birds, we should be then looking for solutions in our new construction portfolio, such as lights that have, they're designed around the dark skies initiatives and like different applications. So I think first step is the education and to try to get the lights out where we can. And the second part is to try to build better specifications in our buildings so that we can support that.
A great answer. And I know that that's a push for lightning bugs, fireflies as well. The lights are distracting for them. So in addition to the migratory birds, that's an issue as well. So thank you both very much. Before we end, what would you like the audience to remember about today's program?
Yeah, great question. I think we just want folks to realize that they have a GreenGov program that they can participate with us, that we need to keep the momentum up, and we need active participants like today. And we can't do it individually. We need to work together. So I don't know if Matt, if you want to add anything else.
No, other than that, we certainly appreciate the opportunity today, and for those folks joining in, thanks for your interest in the program, and we keep trying, and we keep lifting up, the resiliency and the energy savings within the Commonwealth, and it's pretty exciting, and we've come pretty far. So there's only more and better in the future. So thanks again.
Well, as I mentioned, the website is fantastic. The links are in the chat box. So if you want to explore more about this topic, you can visit the GreenGov website or the State Museum website. Thank you to the audience for your questions, and thank you to Mark and Matt for being part of this program today.
Thanks all. Have a great weekend.
You too. If you would like to join us again for more Learn at Lunchtime programs, you can visit our webpage to sign up.